Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're exploring the Hoosier State, Indiana. Now, I know what you're thinking, Indiana? Really? But trust me, this state sitting right in the heart of America has some of the most incredible stories, inventions, and surprises you've never heard about. We've got 20 amazing facts lined up, and I'm going to dive deep into each one so you really understand what makes Indiana special. Whether you're from Indiana, planning to visit, or just curious about American history, stick around because these stories are absolutely fascinating. Before we jump in, hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy learning cool facts about America. All right, let's get started. Fact 1. The Indianapolis 500, more than just a race, let's kick things off with something Indiana is world famous for. The Indianapolis 500. Now, this isn't just any car race. The first Indy 500 happened way back in 1911, making it one of the oldest sporting events still running in America. But here's what's mind-blowing. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is the world's largest spectator sporting facility. We're talking over 250,000 permanent seats. And when you add the infield, it can hold around 400,000 people. To put that in perspective, that's bigger than most NFL stadiums, bigger than any baseball park, and could fit the entire population of some cities. The track itself is 5 miles around, and drivers complete 200 laps at speeds exceeding 230 miles per hour. The first winner, Ray Harron, averaged just 6 miles per hour and took over 6 hours to complete the race. Today's winners finish in under 3 hours at average speeds over 185 miles per hour. The evolution is incredible. This race isn't just about speed, it's become a cultural phenomenon. Every Memorial Day weekend, the entire state basically stops to watch or attend the greatest spectacle in racing. Fact 2. Abraham Lincoln's formative years. Here's something most people don't know. Abraham Lincoln, one of America's greatest presidents, spent his most important growing up years right here in Indiana. From age 7 to 21, Lincoln lived in Spencer County, Indiana, in a small log cabin. This wasn't just a quick stop. This was where young Abe became the man who would later lead America through its darkest hour. During these 14 years in Indiana, several life-changing events happened. His mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, died when he was just 9 years old. This tragedy deeply affected him and shaped his character. His father remarried, and his stepmother, Sarah Bush Lincoln, encouraged his love of reading and education. Indiana's wilderness taught Lincoln hard work. He split rails, plowed fields, and did manual labor that built his legendary strength. The state's diverse community exposed him to different people and ideas. Many historians argue that Indiana shaped Lincoln's values more than Illinois, where he's more commonly associated. Today, you can visit the Lincoln Boyhood National Memorial in Lincoln City, Indiana, which preserves the site where he grew up. There's even a living historical farm that shows what life was like in the 1820s when Lincoln lived there. The cabin, the struggles, the education he pursued despite poverty. This all happened in Indiana. Fact 3, Santa Claus, Indiana. Real place. This one's magical. Literally a town called Santa Claus in Indiana. Founded in 1854, the town needed a name for its post office. According to legend, during a town meeting on Christmas Eve, they couldn't agree on a name when suddenly church bells rang and children's voices were heard. Someone said, "Let's call it Santa Claus." And everyone agreed. But here's where it gets really special. Since 1914, the town's post office has been answering letters to Santa Claus. We're not talking about a few letters. Over 500,000 letters arrive here every single year from children all around the world. A group of volunteers called Santa's Elves personally respond to every single letter. They've been doing this for over a century, making countless children's Christmases more magical. The town fully embraces the theme too. They have streets named Candy Castle Lane, Snowball Drive, and Mistletoe Drive. There's a Holiday World theme park, a Santa Claus museum, and even the world's only post office with a Santa Claus postmark. People send their Christmas cards here to get that special stamp. The dedication of this small Indiana town to keeping Christmas magic alive for children worldwide is absolutely heartwarming. It's become a year-round tourist destination that proves sometimes the most unbelievable stories are true. Fact 4, the birthplace of Wonder Bread. Here's one that'll blow your mind. Wonder Bread, that iconic sliced bread that's been in American homes for generations, was invented right here in Indianapolis in 1921. The Taggart Baking Company created it, but here's the cool story behind the name. Elmer Klein, a vice president at Taggart, was at the Indianapolis Speedway watching the international balloon race. As he watched hundreds of colorful balloons floating in the sky, he was filled with wonder. Right then and there, he thought, Wonder Bread. They introduced it as one of the first sliced bread brands sold nationally. The phrase, the best thing since sliced bread, actually has its roots partly in Wonder Bread's success. But Wonder Bread did something revolutionary beyond just being pre-sliced. In the 1940s, they started enriching their bread with vitamins and minerals at the government's request to help combat nutritional deficiencies during World War II. This changed the entire baking industry. The red, yellow, and blue balloons on the wrapper, that's a direct tribute to those hot air balloons at the Indianapolis Speedway that inspired the name. So next time you see Wonder Bread at the store, remember, it all started with a moment of inspiration in Indiana. Fact 5, Michael Jackson, the king of pop from Gary. One of the most famous entertainers in human history came from a small industrial town in Indiana, Michael Jackson. On August 29, 1958, in Gary, Indiana, Michael Joseph Jackson was the 8th of 10 children in the Jackson family. Their house was a small 2-bedroom home at 2300 Jackson Street, yes, Jackson Street, which made their address even more memorable. Gary was a steel mill town, tough and working class. Joe Jackson, Michael's father, worked in the steel mills while forming his sons into what would become the Jackson 5. They rehearsed constantly in that tiny house, and neighbors would complain about the noise. The Jackson 5 performed at local clubs, talent shows, and anywhere they could in the Gary area. They won talent show after talent show before getting their big break. Little Michael, even at 6 years old, had that incredible voice and those amazing dance moves. From those humble beginnings in Gary, Indiana, Michael Jackson went on to become the king of pop, selling over 400 million records worldwide, creating groundbreaking music videos, and becoming a global icon. The house where he grew up still stands and has become a landmark. Gary celebrates its most famous son, and the story reminds us that incredible talent can emerge from anywhere, even a small industrial town in Indiana. His journey from 2300 Jackson Street to global superstardom is the ultimate American dream story. Fact 6. Indiana limestone built America. Here's something you probably walk past every day without realizing. Many of America's most famous buildings are made from Indiana limestone. Indiana limestone, specifically from a belt running through south-central Indiana near Bloomington and Bedford, is considered the finest building stone in America. But we're not talking about just a few buildings. This stuff is everywhere. The Empire State Building in New York, Indiana limestone. The Pentagon, Indiana limestone. The National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., yep, Indiana limestone. In fact, 35 out of 50 state capitol buildings across America are built with Indiana limestone. It's also in Rockefeller Center, Yankee Stadium, the Biltmore Estate, and countless universities, courthouses, and government buildings. So why is Indiana limestone so special? It's incredibly uniform in color and texture, making it beautiful. It's soft enough to carve easily when first quarried, but hardens when exposed to air, making it durable. It can last for centuries without significant weathering. The limestone industry has been operating in Indiana since the 1830s. During the building boom of the early 1900s, limestone from Indiana literally helped build modern America. There are massive quarries you can visit, some over 200 feet deep. The old quarries have even been used as filming locations. Parts of Breaking Away were filmed in abandoned limestone quarries. Next time you see a beautiful stone building, there's a good chance it came from the heart of Indiana. Fact 7, the Underground Railroad and Levi Coffin, Indiana, played a crucial role in one of the most important chapters of American history. The Underground Railroad, Levi Coffin, a Quaker living in Fountain City, Indiana, became known as the president of the Underground Railroad. Between 1827 and 1847, Levi and his wife Catherine helped over 2,000 enslaved people escape to freedom through their home. Think about that number, 2,000 people, and think about the risk. This was illegal and dangerous. They could have been arrested, fined, or worse. But the Coffins believed slavery was morally wrong and put their lives on the line. Their house had a specially designed hiding place in the attic and 7 different escape routes. Escaped slaves would arrive at night, often exhausted, starving, and terrified. The Coffins would feed them, clothe them, let them rest, and then send them on to the next station toward Canada and freedom. The network was so secretive that even today, historians don't know all the routes and safe houses. People communicated in code, traveled at night, and trusted very few people. What's incredible is how organized it was. It functioned like an actual railroad, with stations, safe houses, conductors, people who guided escapees and passengers, the freedom seekers. The Levi Coffin House still stands today in Fountain City as a National Historic Landmark. You can tour it and see the actual hiding places where people stayed. Indiana's role in the fight against slavery shows the state's commitment to justice and human dignity. Fact 8. Larry Bird, the legend from French Lick. If you mention Indiana and sports, you have to talk about basketball. And nobody represents Hoosier basketball better than Larry Bird. Larry Joe Bird was born in West Baden Springs and raised in French Lick, Indiana, a tiny town with a population of less than 2,000 people. His childhood was tough. His family struggled financially, and his father died by suicide when Larry was in high school. Basketball became his escape and his passion. He played at Springs Valley High School, leading them to the sectional championship. But here's what makes his story amazing. He didn't go straight to NBA stardom. Bird went to Indiana University but left after just 24 days because he felt overwhelmed by the big campus. He returned home, worked municipal jobs, and played basketball at a junior college. Eventually, he went to Indiana State University, a smaller school where he felt more comfortable. At Indiana State, he transformed the program, leading them to the 1979 NCAA championship game against Magic Johnson's Michigan State. Although they lost, Bird's performance put him on the map. He was drafted by the Boston Celtics and became one of the greatest players in NBA history, 3-time NBA champion, 3-time MVP, 12-time All-Star. His rivalry with Magic Johnson defined the 1980s and saved the NBA. But Bird never forgot his roots. He remained humble, always identifying himself as a small-town Indiana kid. He later coached and managed the Indiana Pacers, bringing his expertise home. French Lick celebrates him with murals, a museum, and even a street named Larry Bird Boulevard. His story proves that greatness can come from the smallest places. Fact 9, the invention of canned tomato juice. Here's a fun one. Tomato juice, as we know it, was invented by accident in Indiana. In 1917, At French Lick Springs Hotel in southern Indiana, a chef faced a problem. It was breakfast time, and he'd run out of orange juice. Guests were waiting, and he needed a solution fast. Looking around his kitchen, he spotted a bunch of fresh tomatoes. In a moment of inspiration, or desperation, he squeezed the tomatoes, strained the juice, added some seasoning, and served it to guests. To his surprise, people loved it. Word spread, and soon tomato juice became a regular menu item at the hotel. Other restaurants started copying the idea, and by the 1920s, companies began canning and selling tomato juice commercially. Before this Indiana innovation, tomatoes were mainly eaten whole or cooked in sauces. Nobody really thought to drink them. But this accidental invention created an entire beverage category. Tomato juice became especially popular during Prohibition as a mixer, wink wink, and later as a healthy drink rich in vitamins. Airlines started serving it, and it became the classic airplane drink. It also led to other innovations, like the Bloody Mary cocktail, V8 vegetable juice, and countless tomato-based drinks. All because a chef in Indiana ran out of orange juice one morning. Sometimes the best inventions happen when you're forced to improvise. This Indiana moment changed breakfast tables and bar menus worldwide. Fact 10, Indiana Dunes, a beach in the Midwest? Wait, Indiana has beaches and sand dunes in the Midwest? Yes, it absolutely does. The Indiana Dunes National Park, located along the southern shore of Lake Michigan, is one of the most surprising natural features you'll find in the American heartland. We're talking massive sand dunes, some reaching up to 200 feet high. These aren't just small hills of sand. These are legitimate towering dunes that took thousands of years to form. After the last ice age, as glaciers retreated, they left behind all this sand. Winds from Lake Michigan have been shaping and reshaping these dunes ever since. But here's what makes Indiana Dunes truly special. It has incredible biodiversity. Within the park, you'll find over 1,100 different plant species, more than in many national parks, twice its size. You've got everything from cacti to pine trees, from prairies to wetlands, all within a relatively small area. The beach stretches for 15 miles along Lake Michigan, and in summer it looks like an ocean beach, people swimming, sunbathing, building sandcastles. The water even has waves. Lake Michigan is so huge you can't see the other side. There are also unique features like singing sands. Certain dunes make a squeaking sound when you walk on them due to the uniform size of the sand grains. It's surreal. The park attracts millions of visitors every year who come to hike the dunes, swim in the lake, bird watch, and explore the diverse ecosystems. Who knew that Indiana, a landlocked Midwest state famous for corn and basketball, would have one of America's most unique coastal treasures? Fact 11. James Dean, rebel from Indiana. James Dean, one of Hollywood's most iconic actors, was a small-town Indiana boy who became an eternal symbol of teenage rebellion. Born in Marion, Indiana in 1931, James Byron Dean moved to his aunt and uncle's farm in Fairmount, Indiana, after his mother died when he was just 9 years old. Growing up in rural Indiana in the 1940s, young Jimmy, as he was called, was a regular kid. He played basketball, was in theater club, and competed on the debate team at Fairmount High School. But Dean had bigger dreams. After high school, he moved to California to pursue acting. His breakthrough came with East of Eden in 1955, followed by Rebel Without a Cause, a role that would define teenage angst for generations. Here's the tragic part. Dean only made 3 major films. On September 30th, 1955, at just 24 years old, he died in a car crash in California. His career lasted less than 2 years, yet he became an eternal icon. What's fascinating is how Dean never forgot his Indiana roots. He often spoke about his small-town upbringing, and many say his authenticity came from those Indiana values, being genuine, hardworking, and unpretentious. Fairmount, Indiana celebrates him with a museum filled with personal artifacts, his motorcycle, childhood photos, and movie memorabilia. Every September, they hold a James Dean Festival that attracts fans from around the world. His grave in Fairmount is visited by thousands annually. People leave flowers, messages, and cigarette packs, a nod to his iconic image. From Indiana farmland to Hollywood legend, James Dean's story is unforgettable. 12. The first professional baseball game. Baseball fans, listen up. The very first professional baseball game in American history was played in Fort Wayne, Indiana. On May 4, 1871, the Fort Wayne Cachyongas faced off against the Cleveland Forest Cities in what's now recognized as the first game of the first professional baseball league, the National Association of Professional Baseball Players. The game was played at Hamilton Field in Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne won 2-0, and Bobby Matthews of the Cachyongas threw the first professional pitch in baseball history. Think about that. Every MLB pitch thrown today traces back to that moment in Indiana. Now, here's something interesting. The Cachyongas were named after the Miami tribe that had lived in the region. The team only existed for one season. They went broke, like several teams did in those early days, but they made history. The National Association was pretty rough compared to modern baseball. Players didn't have contracts, teams came and went, and the season was short. But it established the foundation for professional baseball as we know it. Fort Wayne's role in baseball history doesn't end there. The city later had teams in various leagues, and today it has the Fort Wayne Tin Caps, a minor league team. There's a historical marker at the site where Hamilton Field once stood, commemorating that first game. The city celebrates its baseball heritage, knowing that America's favorite pastime as a professional sport was born right there. Every time you watch a Major League Baseball game, remember, it all started on a spring day in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fact 13, David Letterman, late-night legend, one of television's most influential entertainers. David Letterman is a proud Indianapolis native. Born in Indianapolis in 1947, Letterman grew up watching TV and dreaming of being on it. He attended Broad Ripple High School in Indianapolis and later Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, where he began his broadcasting career at the student radio station. After college, Letterman worked as a weatherman and radio talk show host in Indianapolis. His humor was always a bit quirky and irreverent. One story goes that he congratulated a tropical storm for being upgraded to a hurricane. Eventually, he moved to Los Angeles to pursue comedy. After years of stand-up and writing, he got his break on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Carson became his mentor and champion. Letterman's late-night career spanned over 33 years, first with Late Night with David Letterman on NBC, then Late Show with David Letterman on CBS. He revolutionized late-night TV with his unique comedy style, stupid pet tricks, top 10 lists, and willingness to experiment. Despite his massive success, Letterman remained connected to Indiana. He frequently mentioned Indianapolis on his show, had Indiana guests, and returned home regularly. He donated millions to Ball State University, which named a communications building after him. He was self-deprecating, Midwestern in his humor, and never lost that Indiana humility even while becoming one of the most powerful figures in television. His influence on comedy and late-night TV is immeasurable, all from a kid who grew up in Indianapolis. Fact 14, Marengo Cave, underground wonder deep beneath southern Indiana, lies one of America's most spectacular underground wonders. Marengo Cave, discovered in 1883 by two children, Blanche Highstand and Horace Dewey, who were just 15 and 11 years old. The story goes that their dog chased a rabbit, and when they followed, they felt cool air coming from a sinkhole. Being curious kids, they lowered themselves in with a rope and discovered this massive cave system. Within days, word spread, and people came from all over to explore. The cave opened for tours almost immediately and has been operating continuously since then. That's over 140 years of tours. Marengo Cave is special for several reasons. It's one of only 4 show caves in the entire United States that's also designated a National Natural Landmark. The formations inside are absolutely stunning. Stalactites, stalagmites, flowstone draperies, and rare formations you won't see in many caves. The cave maintains a constant 52 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, which made it a popular retreat in the days before air conditioning. There are 2 main tours, the Dripstone Trail and the Crystal Palace Tour, which take you through different parts of the cave system. Some formations are thousands of years old. The Crystal Palace features a massive flowstone formation that looks like a frozen waterfall made of stone. During Prohibition, legend has it that bootleggers used parts of the cave to hide alcohol. The cave is also scientifically important. Geologists study it to understand karst topography and cave formation processes. Who would have thought that 2 kids chasing a rabbit in Indiana would discover one of America's natural treasures? Fact 15, Elwood Haynes and the automobile. While many people credit Henry Ford with inventing the automobile, one of America's first successful cars was actually built in Kokomo, Indiana. Elwood Haynes, a metallurgist and inventor living in Kokomo, built one of America's first commercially successful gasoline-powered automobiles on July 4, 1894, over a year before Ford built his first car. Haynes designed it, and the Apperson brothers built it in their machine shop. On Independence Day, 1894, Haynes took it for a test drive on Pumpkin Vine Pike. Great name, right? Just outside Kokomo. The car reached the blazing speed of 6 miles per hour. Now, it wasn't the very first automobile ever. That distinction is debated and probably goes to Carl Benz in Germany. But Haynes's car was one of the first practical, reliable automobiles in America. More importantly, Haynes went on to manufacture and sell cars commercially, helping establish the American automobile industry. But Haynes didn't stop with cars. He also invented stellite, a cobalt chromium alloy that's still used today in jet engines and medical devices. He developed one of the first stainless steel alloys. He even contributed to the development of aluminum cookware. The Elwood Haynes Museum in Kokomo preserves his legacy, including the original 1894 car he built. Kokomo proudly calls itself the city of firsts, partly because of Haynes's innovations. Indiana's contribution to the automobile industry goes beyond just this first car. The state became a major auto manufacturing center, with dozens of car companies operating there in the early 1900s, all because a brilliant inventor in Kokomo decided to build a horseless carriage. Fact 16, the Popcorn King, Orville Redenbacher. Every movie night, every microwave bag of popcorn, there's a good chance Indiana made it possible through one man. Orville Redenbacher, born in Brazil, Indiana, yes, that's the town's actual name. In 1907, Orville Redenbacher grew up on a farm where his family grew popping corn. Young Orville was fascinated by agriculture and attended Purdue University, where he studied agronomy, the science of crops and soil. But Redenbacher wasn't satisfied with regular popcorn. He spent over 20 years developing the perfect popcorn kernel through crossbreeding and selective cultivation. He wanted bigger, fluffier, more flavorful popcorn with fewer unpopped kernels. In 1965, after decades of work, he finally perfected his hybrid. It was so good that he decided to sell it under his own name, unusual at the time when most products had catchy brand names, not people's actual names. His business partners actually tested the market with names like Red Bow, but consumers preferred the real name Orville Redenbacher's Gourmet Popping Corn. What made him a household name were his TV commercials in the 1970s and 80s. With his distinctive bow tie and suspenders, Orville himself became the spokesperson, coming across as genuine, humble, and proud of his product. Very Midwestern. His popcorn was fluffier. It could pop up to twice the size of regular kernels, tastier, and had fewer Old Maid's unpopped kernels. It revolutionized the popcorn industry. Today, Orville Redenbacher's is still the top-selling popcorn brand in America, all because a farm boy from Brazil, Indiana, dedicated his life to perfecting popcorn. Fact 17, Kurt Vonnegut, literary giant, one of America's greatest writers. Kurt Vonnegut was born and raised in Indianapolis, and his Hoosier roots deeply influenced his work. Born in 1922 in Indianapolis, Vonnegut came from a prominent German-American family. His grandfather founded the Indianapolis architectural firm that designed many of the city's landmark buildings. Kurt grew up during the Great Depression, which shaped his worldview. He attended Shortridge High School in Indianapolis, where he worked on the school newspaper, his first experience with writing and publishing. Skills he learned there would serve him throughout his career. Vonnegut served in World War II and survived the firebombing of Dresden as a prisoner of war, an experience that would become the basis for his masterpiece, Slaughterhouse-Five. His writing style was unique, mixing science fiction, satire, dark humor, and profound philosophical observations. Books like Cat's Cradle, Breakfast of Champions, and Slaughterhouse-Five became classics of American literature. Despite living in various places, Vonnegut often set his stories in Indiana or featured Indiana characters. His Midwestern sensibility, skeptical but not cynical, humorous but not cruel, came through in his writing. He never forgot Indianapolis. In fact, he once said, "What people like about me is Indianapolis." He meant his unpretentious, straightforward style came from his Indiana upbringing. Vonnegut passed away in 2007, but his legacy lives on. The Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library in Indianapolis celebrates his life and work. From Indianapolis to international literary fame, Vonnegut proved that profound wisdom can come from Midwestern roots. Fact 18, Notre Dame. More than football, the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, is synonymous with college football excellence, but there's so much more to this iconic institution. Founded in 1842 by Father Edward Sorin, a French priest, Notre Dame started as a small school in the wilderness of northern Indiana. Today, it's one of the most prestigious universities in America. The football program, of course, is legendary, with 11 national championships, 7 Heisman Trophy winners, and the iconic Fighting Irish nickname. Notre Dame football is basically college football royalty. The Golden Dome and Touchdown Jesus mural, officially called the Word of Life, are instantly recognizable. But here's what many don't know. Notre Dame is also an academic powerhouse. Ranked among the top 20 universities in America, with elite programs in business, law, engineering, and liberal arts. The campus itself is stunning. The Golden Dome covered in real gold leaf, the Basilica of the Sacred Heart with its gorgeous architecture, the grotto, a replica of the famous shrine in Lourdes, France, where students go to pray and reflect. Notre Dame has produced remarkable alumni, one U.S. president. Joe Biden attended law school there, numerous senators, CEOs, Nobel Prize winners, and cultural icons like Phil Donahue and Regis Philbin. The university's impact on Indiana is enormous. It brings tourism, economic development, and prestige to South Bend and the entire state. The school's mission combines academic excellence, spiritual development, and service to others, a very Midwestern combination of values. Notre Dame shows that Indiana isn't just about manufacturing and farming, It's also home to world-class education. Fact 19, the Crossroads of America, Indiana's official motto is the Crossroads of America, and this isn't just catchy branding, it's literally true. More interstate highways cross through Indiana than any other state in the country. We're talking I-64, I-65, I-69, I-70, I-74, I-80, I-90, and I-94. That's 8 major interstates. This makes Indiana the literal center of American commerce and travel. If you're shipping goods from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the South to the North, or anywhere in between, chances are those goods pass through Indiana. Geographic location matters. Indiana sits right in the middle of major population centers. Chicago to the north, Cincinnati and Louisville to the south, Detroit to the northeast, St. Louis to the west. Over half of America's population lives within a 500-mile radius of Indianapolis. This wasn't accidental. Even before cars and highways, Indiana was a crossroads. The National Road, America's first major highway, ran right through the middle of the state in the 1830s. Railroads converged here in the 1800s. The interstate highway system in the 1950s just continued this pattern. This positioning has made Indiana crucial for manufacturing and distribution. Major companies have warehouses and distribution centers here because they can reach most of America within a day's drive. FedEx's second largest hub in the world is in Indianapolis. Amazon has massive fulfillment centers throughout the state. When you order something online and it arrives quickly, there's a good chance it came through Indiana. The Crossroads location has shaped Indiana's economy, culture, and identity for nearly 200 years. Fact 20, Hoosier hospitality is real. Let's end with something that statistics prove. Hoosier hospitality isn't just a saying, it's real. Studies consistently rank Indiana among the friendliest states in America. But what does that actually mean? It's in the little things. Strangers waving at each other on country roads, people holding doors, striking up conversations in checkout lines, offering to help without being asked. There's a story that perfectly captures this. During the 2012 Super Bowl in Indianapolis, national media came expecting a typical big city experience. Instead, they found something different. Reporters wrote article after article about how friendly everyone was, from volunteers to regular citizens, from hotel staff to random people on the street. This isn't fake niceness, it's genuine Midwestern culture. Indiana maintains a small-town mentality even in its cities. People value community, helping neighbors, and treating others with respect. The state's motto might be the Crossroads of America, but maybe it should be where strangers become friends. Hospitality extends to how Indiana treats newcomers. The state has welcomed refugees and immigrants for generations, helping them integrate while respecting their cultures. In a world that sometimes feels divided and rushed, Indiana offers something valuable, the reminder that kindness and community still matter. Whether you're passing through or planning to stay, you'll likely encounter that famous Hoosier hospitality. And there you have it. 20 incredible facts about Indiana that show this state is so much more than cornfields and basketball courts. From Lincoln's character being shaped in its wilderness, to Michael Jackson starting his journey in Gary, from underground caves to lakefront dunes, from automotive pioneers to literary giants. Indiana has contributed enormously to American culture, innovation, and history. What surprised you the most? Are you from Indiana? Do you have stories to share? Drop them in the comments. I love hearing from you. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating facts about American states. We've got some amazing content coming up. Remember, every state has incredible stories if you dig deep enough. Indiana proves that being in the middle doesn't mean being mediocre. Sometimes the heartland has the biggest heart. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.